going on, guys? This is Nick from Budget Build Garage, and today we're going to start the work on my 1967 Camaro. Now, a couple months ago I picked this thing up, I brought it in, showed Taylor, and that was pretty much it. I did manage to get it started, but I didn't have a lot of time to actually get it running and actually move. Carburetor's terrible. The thing runs poorly. It does, basically it idles. That's all it will do. Honestly, I haven't even really had a chance to check this thing out because when I bought it, it was kind of spur of the moment because I had been looking at it forever, and it finally fell to a price low enough that I thought it was worth it. So now we're going to kind of go through, I'm going to rebuild the carb, I'm going to throw some spark plugs at it, we're going to look at a few things, and then we will kind of go from there. So now that I've had kind of a brief look over of this car, I gotta say it's pretty awesome. It's got all the stuff you'd expect. The paint job's perfect. Clearly flames are the best thing in the world, so that's awesome. As far as the normal stuff you find, like the coolant overflow, it's a juice bottle, so you know that's awesome. Spark plug wires, there's 3 different types of spark plug wires on this car. The PVC valve is obviously just kind of had a rag thrown over it with a zip tie around it that really isn't even holding it on there. Other than that, you know, it looks pretty good. When you buy an old car like this, you expect to find a ton of weird stuff, so really this is just scratching the surface. The other thing is a bunch of the valve cover bolts are broken off in the block, which is awesome, so this thing just pours oil when it's running. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. Honestly, that's okay, because realistically, we're not keeping this thing in this car. I do have some plans for this thing. I kind of would like an inline 6 with a turbo or a supercharger on it, but either way, I don't think it'll be in this car. This car is going to end up being a very good driving car. I want to drive this thing everywhere so I can make my Pontiac much faster, so I don't have to drive that every day. But, you know, we'll really see how this build goes. I guess I'm just going to keep working on it. I'm going to go ahead and pull off this carburetor. So you can see right here, it is leaking a ton of fuel as well as at the base, so those gaskets are bad. When you go to pull off your carburetor, if you have one of these adjusting rods that connects to your pedal and your pedal already feels good, you want to do your best to not even touch it, not even adjust it. Luckily, on this one, we pull a couple springs in like one post, and then honestly, we don't have to adjust any of the linkage at all. Then it's the fuel line, 2 bolts, and that's really it. A couple of vacuum lines. In fact, I don't think there's any vacuum lines on this since the ones were missing, and I plugged them. One of the better things to do is wait for your engine to be cool. That way, just in case you spill a bunch of fuel, it's not on your hot engine, and you know, less chance of it catching on fire. Odds are kind of slim unless your engine's really hot, but better safe than sorry. The carburetor on this car is a Rochester single barrel carb. They used to refer to them as the pineapple carb. They're pretty easy. If you've never rebuilt a carb or anything like that, this is a good carb to start on. There are very few moving parts. It's pretty easy. You take it apart, you clean everything, you replace the needle, the seat, you set the flow, you replace the gaskets, and you put a new accelerator pump in it, put the whole thing back together, and it just works. It really is a very simple carb, especially it being a single barrel. Now, you make a lot of variants on this carb, so figure out which one you have before you just order a kit, a rebuild kit on it, because there's a lot of different shaped accelerator pumps that kind of went in this style carb. So that's pretty easy. Threw that back on. I don't see too much effort going into tuning that thing since it's only a single barrel and this thing's only a 6-cylinder. Next, we're going to go ahead and throw on the valve cover and the valve cover gasket. I did get that locally. The only thing they had was a cork. I'm not a huge fan of cork, but there's nothing wrong with them. The carburetor's on, valve cover's on. I reattached the fuel line. Really, now we just kind of need to crank it and see if this thing will actually start, see if it'll run. Car starts fine. I'm going to adjust a couple things on this carb and get it to idle on its own power so I don't have to sit in there, use my foot and keep it revved up, and I think this thing's good. Alright guys, we're in the Camaro. It seems pretty badass. It's actually pretty fast now that the carb's built. I'm impressed by this 6-cylinder. The problem is I have no gauges. I don't know if we're running hot, I don't know if we're running cold, I don't know if there's any oil pressure. I have no clue what's going on, but that's okay, because I feel if you don't know there's a problem, there's probably not a problem. It downshifts pretty good. It is a 2-speed. Honestly, man, this thing is awesome. Alright, so this is pretty awesome actually. I've been cruising around for a while, starting to feel a little bit of heat down in the footwells. Maybe I'm overheating, I don't know, I'm actually not too worried about it though. I'm just gonna keep going. And suspension's terrible, it's so bad. Also, there's no seat belts in here, which is kind of crazy because it's like, it's largely untested. That's alright. Yeah. Let's see if I U-turn here. It doesn't have enough power to spin the tires, which I kind of expected, but that's alright. I am more than impressed with how well this thing's running right now with just a simple carb build, some plugs. Transmission seems to shift pretty hard actually. And she sounds fairly healthy. Yeah, no, I'm stoked. This thing's awesome. Alright, so I think that's about as far as I should be going with this test drive. Yeah, overall, this Camaro's awesome. I can't wait to get started. I need more suspension, I think, before we put more power in this thing, because it's awesome. There's no power steering, which is cool, because it's just a 6-cylinder. It's actually pretty easy to turn. What else do I got? Oh yeah, these tires are old as hell. I really shouldn't be driving these too far or on the highway or anything like that. They're all dry rotted and cracked, but that's okay, because this thing is awesome. Alright guys, so as you can see, the Camaro's running pretty good. The suspension's terrible, but that's to be expected. The brakes are terrible, but that's to be expected. I got tons of new stuff for this thing coming. We're going to tear this thing all apart. I'm very excited about this build. I really just wanted to get this inline 6 running so I could take it around the block, take it up the street, run some errands in it, because you know what? There's nothing worse than buying a car and not being able to drive it. So I'm very excited. I'm happy the way this thing turned out. And if you like this episode and you want to see more of the Camaro, like, comment, subscribe, and you know what? Tell me what you think of the flames, because seriously, they're growing on me. I might have to keep them. All right, man, I'll catch you guys on the next episode.